Hey, what's going on? I'm Keith here from Sports Vibes TV, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Stephen Fox for another edition of the Knicks Sunday Stream. And today we've got a jam-packed show for you guys. We're going to be talking about the Knicks getting stunned out in Phoenix and taking an L that I thought we were actually going to win. We're also going to talk about Julius Randle and the front office maybe having some concerns with his psyche throughout the last few months in the season where he struggled. And also, we're going to talk about Jalen Brunson some more and see if he could be an option at point guard for us in the offseason. So, with that being said, I want to say hello to Stephen Fox. Foxy, how's everything with you?
All is good. Salute to you. Salute to the chat. Salute to the SV Nation. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. I was a little bit stressed after the game, after we lost and gave Cam Johnson the open three to send us home with an L. But, I turned on an episode of Love is Blind too, watched the reunion and kind of calmed down. So now we're here on Sunday and I can actually reflect on the loss as opposed to sitting in my living room screaming and cussing.
Yeah. For some reason, I wasn't upset. I was like, oh, good. We're going to get the draft choice.
It seems like most Knicks fans weren't too upset. A lot of them either knew we were going to give up. I'm not give up, but give up the loss. And some felt that this was inevitable, especially after Julius Randle got evicted. Ejected. I wish we could evict him from the team at this point with the way he's been acting.
No occupancy.
Yeah, because it's crazy. I even tweeted, I said, it's unfortunate he got ejected, especially in a game where the Knicks are actually in position to win, but at least somebody's holding this guy accountable because we know it isn't Tibbs that's going to do it. So we'll talk about Randle some more in depth after we talk about the game itself. So Foxy, let me know some of the things you saw out there in the closing minutes that kind of cost the Knicks late in that game.
Tibbs, you brought it up right prior to the show, and we talked about it. That subbing out Cam for Fournier was that was the turning point, I think, of the game. And Cam was playing really well. He was getting his rhythm, and we've all wanted to see him get some burn and also get some burn with RJ, build up their chemistry. So we're saying, hey, he's looking good. He's doing some things like getting to the hole that others on the Knicks can't do, doing it effortlessly. And we're saying, this is good. This is good. Oh my God, you're kidding. He subbed out Cam. So that's the thing that just, we haven't won a game in 3 weeks, folks. Literally in more than 3 weeks, actually, that it's just crazy. And, and again, to emphasize, and we touched on this last week with my friend Keith and his wonderful stats, but we have the worst fourth quarter differential in the past month. We are minus 103. And ladies and gentlemen, the Rockets are second with a minus 36. So that just emphasizes how bad we are. And, if you look at the games, we lost to Phoenix, we had a 14-point lead. We lost to Philadelphia, we had a 10-point lead. We lost to Miami, we had a 10-point lead. We lost to the Nets, we had a 28-point lead. OKC, we had an 11-point lead. In Portland, we had a 23-point lead. It's like, what is going on with this team, man? And fourth quarter, Cam Johnson had 21 points, and the Knicks team had 21 points. So another fourth quarter collapse.
Yeah, and also I'm working on a film breakdown of the closing stretch of that game, and just the defensive integrity was just non-existent. And you look at a guy like Cam Johnson, and he's going off. You mentioned he had 21 points in the fourth quarter, and there were at times when the Knicks refused to seek him out and at least make sure there was somebody on him. I mean, that's the guy that's cooking you, and time after time you allow him to get open space. And we know Cam Johnson, he coming into the league, one thing that we knew he could do, and that was shoot the ball. And if you look at what he was able to do in the game in its entirety, Cam Johnson went 9 of 12 from the 3-point line. So he shot 75% from the 3-point line. And I think the most egregious one was the last one that he was able to put up. You saw campaign, even though he's not a, great point guard in this league, he's still a solid point guard, especially a backup point guard. And he was smart in what he was able to do in that last play. He brought it up the court, and he made sure he got in front of Alec Burks and got Cam Johnson in his spot where he was able to catch the ball, step up in rhythm, and knock down the three. So the Knicks on defense were just brutal to watch. And, a lot of that stemmed from them subbing Fournier in, I believe. A lot of missed rotations, a lot of him allowing guys into the paint to start things off is what really doomed us late in that game. And then you also look at RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett had to play, 40 some odd minutes with
44 minutes.
And you kind
And
of saw that in his inefficiency. What was he, 2 of 10 in the fourth quarter?
yeah, just absolutely brutal. But to his, he scored the 20. He was inefficient, but he was beat, man. And that last rebound, you saw he had no legs in the ball. It's a matter of inches in his game. And he went up for the missed foul shot by Burks, went right through his hands. And the rest, unfortunately, is history. Good history for Phoenix and bad history for us. Although, it's good for our draft choice coming up. But, just exhausted. And, you mentioned the defensive work that you're working on, the special that you'll be coming out, the video, and the nerve of Randle to make a comment about defensive effort. And folks, behind the scenes, Keith and I talking, looking at some of the film, he's the biggest culprit. All he needs to do, Randle, is look in the mirror to see where that lack of effort is. There's times, folks, I just hit the pause, rewind. And I'm like, Jesus, he's literally took the whole playoff. So he comes out and says this guy really has issues, man.
Yeah, you mentioned it, and some of the issues with Randle and his defense is he's giving no effort. Like, there's times where he's supposed to make a move, he's supposed to stop the opposing team from trying to penetrate and get into the paint, and he's not even making a move. I think his principle is, not my man, not my problem, because him as a health defender, he's virtually non-existent out there on the court. And you look at the game against the Suns, he wasn't great defensively, but he was making a major impact on the offensive side of the court. So if he's doing that, you don't like him not giving a lot of energy defensively, but if he's being that dominant offensively, you can kind of not give him a pass, but you're not going to go as hard at him if he's out there going crazy, because he was on pace for a 40-point performance.
He was playing really well. And then the emotions got the better of him for the umpteenth time this season. And today the NBA fined him $50,000 for that outburst and pushing the ref. And folks, I feel very strongly that the smartest thing the Knicks could do is also fine him for conduct detrimental to the team. Because
we know they're not going to do that. Tibbs is an enabler. He's not about to get at him.
I know, and you perfectly gave him that name, Tibbs, that name, the enabler, a long time ago. But he even Tibbs said he crossed the line. And when does finally, if he says he crossed the line, you have to do something as an organization. Whether it's Burke saying it is what it is. You just see, talking about the positionless point guard position, and you see the energies out of this team, man.
Yeah. So speaking about the game even more, let's talk about Deuce. How did you feel about Deuce getting 8 minutes out there? Is that a quote unquote step up from the 2 he was getting previously?
It is.
Or the 1 in the game before?
It is, and it's not. And it just gnaws at me. We selected him, folks, with the 36th pick to be a potential point guard of our future. We send him down to the G League to refine those skills, for him to be that. And so we bring him up, and what do? We play him at the off guard with IQ playing the point guard. And it's like, it's different. It's like somebody saying, hey, I'm playing shortstop. I'm studying shortstop. Hey, you're going to play third base today. What's the difference? There's a difference. And there's a difference between playing the off guard and a shooting guard. So it's like, but also what we've seen is, wow, IQ's had shooting woes this season. It's directly related that he's better as a shooting guard and catch and shoot. So he's better for a D Rose or somebody else to do something, kick it out to him to Legs is cool.
That was a good one.
Kick it out where he's squared up and he could shoot. So we have Deuce playing off guard, out of position. We have IQ. So I'm shaking my head. He got 8 minutes, but not 8 minutes in the position that we want, that we want to see him as a point guard. And the same thing with whether it's Sims. He built some synergy with Sims. They had some really nice lobs in the G League watching. So take advantage of that. Let him. He already has some of that. So Yeah, so he played 8 minutes, but he didn't play 8 minutes in the position that all of us wanted him to see to set that team up. IQ's out. He's not a point guard. You see him come down and you see him always look. He's a he's a shoot first type of dude. He's always looking for that logo three and stuff. If somebody stops up, but then you're like dribble, 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 dribble. 10 seconds off the clock, pass. He's not a point guard, folks.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Deuce run point a little bit more, but they had him off ball. And the fact that he's out there, I'm going to say I was happy. I would have liked to see him a little bit more involved, more than the 8 minutes, especially when you saw later on in that game, the team was struggling defensively. And Quick was a culprit in some of the defensive lapses as well. So not saying necessarily take Quick out for Deuce, but there were guys like Alec Burks. I felt like he could have been taken out. You could have put Cam in for Fournier. I think when you look at this team, I think some of our younger guys are the better defenders. So the fact that we have a coach like Tibbs and he's not putting these young guys on the court to kind of make some plays, to me is ridiculous, especially when you can see Cam is a better defender than Evan Fournier. And I think we can all say, even though we haven't seen enough of Deuce, from what we've seen from Deuce, both in the G League and his time out there on the court, I think Deuce definitely gives guards more problems than Alec Burks. Alec Burks, he's giving energy out there defensively, but I feel like some of these guards are a little bit too quick for him. So the fact that Deuce got out there, I'm happy he got the 8 minutes, but I agree with you. I would have liked to see him operate a little bit more at point. But seeing how Quick and Deuce play together in Summer League, I can understand why Tibbs decided to at least give that a try in that moment.
Yeah, but that's 60 games ago where we said, we went through the experiment. IQ is not a point guard. So you had this vision, this grand vision of grandeur, Tibbs, that he'll be a point guard, but he's not, meaning IQ. So he had it all. So yeah, you work that in Summer League, but that's 100 years ago. It didn't work out that way. Hey, JD did share some, our friend JD's from JD Sports Talk and also Knicks Fan TV. Shout out to JD and CP. He shared some film with me on a switch on defense. He's fantastic. Talking about Deuce, he was beautiful. I mean, technique wise, he said, look at this switch on him. It was beautiful. Fighting through, body sliding, and like saying, when we've gone through a year of Kembas and Fourniers, and like you said, Burke's out of position, and you're like watching this film, like, yo, he's getting his rhythm and stuff. He hasn't had real NBA time, the speed of the game, everything else, and it's like, but you can't, he's a dog. Give this boy some time, man. God, I love his game, but I just wish that he gets time at the one.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. But seems like Tibbs is Quick is one of Tibbs's favorites. So seems like he'll still try to get him to play point until I guess the front office realizes that Quick may not be the best option at the one. So Foxy, want to talk about our center, the one who has a pretty murky future. We're not sure if we'll be able to extend him. He may decide to move on and seek employment elsewhere. And that's Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson, he was 8 of 8 from the field. That's good for 17 points, 15 rebounds. He had 4 steals and 3 blocks. And I think this was a pretty big game for him going up against an Ayton, a player some people think the Knicks should try to pursue and replace Mitchell Robinson with. So for Mitch to go out there and have some big numbers, I think was pretty dope for him. I guess it's building his confidence. And also, I think it lets us know that just because Mitchell Robinson doesn't have the greatest offensive skill set, he can still be a major difference maker out there on the court. I think we saw that, especially in the third quarter in the game. So what did you see out there from Mitch?
Well, first of all, I think that you and I made some comments in a pregame that's going to age really well. George had multiple ones where we said, we think that the Knicks could win this game against the Suns, but they break our heart. I could see them lose, meaning we think they could win the game, without Booker and without Paul, but they find a way to tease us. And we were right on that. And then George brought up, possibility for Ayton, and you and I both teamed up together and went, why? with Mitch. Mitch is more of an elite offensive rebounder, better shot blocker, better rim protector, and he's scoring 16 points. But with RJ, and if we had a real point guard, we could see him. So I think just a little pat on your back and a little on mine. We called that he played Ayton. He outplayed Ayton. Wasn't even close, man. So Ayton is a typical guy that, the CP3's made Jordan look unbelievable in Los Angeles, and he makes other guys. But if CP's not there, all of a sudden the mortality, he's immortal again. And Mitch played very, very well. So if we could just have him doing that every game. But yeah, man, that's the type of game we want for him. But kudos to you, my friend. We call that before the game.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how a lot of things ended up going about the way we predicted it in the pregame.
Well, that's usually in every pregame. I don't mean anything. We're pretty damn good. Every pregame, like, yo, we just predicted that dude was going to have the breakout, and he did. And so that's why they listened to Where's the Place to Be? Sports Vibe TV.
Sports Vibe TV, you already know. So, Foxy, this is actually what we were talking about in the pregame show. From Bayside Jr., he said, would you sign and trade Mitch for Ayton? I still would. I think it's a win-win for both teams. They save money and get a perfect center for Chris Paul. Honestly, I don't think I would if I can get Mitch right around 12 million. And if Ayton is anywhere past, maybe a $3 to $4 million upgrade, I'd be hesitant to make a move. I think we saw it last night. Ayton, not last night, but we saw it Friday night. Ayton without Chris Paul and Devin Booker, I expected him to step up in that moment and be a difference maker out there on the court. And we really didn't see that. We saw Cam Johnson and we saw Campaign decide to do that. And the fact that Ayton being, first round from a first overall pick and not able to be a difference maker in that environment when it's tailored for him to kind of step up, I'd be hesitant to pay him that type of money. I think you're talking 22, 23, maybe $25 million. That's a player that I want to be elite in some aspect of his game. And I don't think Ayton is elite in any aspect of his game. He's good to great at a lot of parts of it, but I need somebody to be elite that I know can go out there and impact the game in at least one shape or form. And I think Mitch, he has his flaws, but Foxy, you mentioned it, him being an elite rebounder and him having the length and athleticism to make life difficult for players when they try to get into the paint. I think those two, I'd be more willing to pay the 12 mil and figure out how I'm going to tailor my offense, knowing that Mitch isn't that guy, as opposed to spending the extra money on an Ayton and not really getting the most bang for my buck.
Yeah, and also Bayside Junior, thanks again for your support. We appreciate all your comments, regardless how they are toward me. We appreciate them, but really that we brought up in the pregame the other way. I think the real big question is, why aren't the Suns re-signing him? Frank Kaminsky is the guy behind him, so it's not like they have a top tier talent. We brought up Indiana. You let Turner go. They have Isaiah Jackson. They have Jalen Smith. They have people there. Suns, that's the anchor of your defense. And so if they're willing to let that guy walk, you got to take a step back and say, yeah, we know they have a lot of money tied up in Booker and with Paul, but that center position is about everything. So why aren't they in the sweepstakes? Or maybe they are, but they should have closed that deal a while ago, man.
Yeah. But we'll see. It'll be interesting when it hits the offseason. It'll be interesting for us because we don't know what Mitch is going to do. There's been reports that Mitch may not decide to extend his contract here and move on. What do you think we should do? And how much do you think we should pay Mitch if the time comes and we're in a position to extend him? Actually, we can extend him right now, but I think he's more.
We can.
Yeah, he's more open to hitting free agency and seeing what the open market offers him.
Yeah, I think it stops June something that we can't extend, but we can extend now. Hey, what we talked about is our biggest concern is if he can stay healthy, but the numbers in our head is like we talked about a couple of shows ago in the Williams ballpark of the 13 million in that range, 11 to 13, and we talked about that. We're glad we saw that, but we've also seen him disappear against other elite centers. So he had a really good game against Ayton, and then other times. So I wouldn't pay any more than 13 million, and that's it. And if he wants to walk, we'll do it. But we've talked about his immaturity, the issues in his life, his tweets, his posting plus minus, and all these other things. that Mitch is consistently Mitch. And, if you're going to invest big money, you have to take a step back and say, is this guy, is he a professional? Has he worked on his offensive game? Does he have post moves? Does he have a midi, a pitch and pop, pick and pop, a jump hook, or, things like that? And the answer is no. So he hasn't developed, with the Knicks or on his own. We love RJ because he went into his own pocket. He had his own shooting coach, so we haven't seen that. So I think Mitch is valuable, but only, and you brought up the word last time, value, the big V word. If we get him with the right price, but I wouldn't overpay for him, especially a guy that I don't think will ever play 82 games in a season. To Sincere the Genius, I agree with you. I don't want to lose Mitch for nothing. If we lose Mitch for nothing, so I don't want to lose Mitch, but if we do lose Mitch, let's make sure we don't lose him for anything. Let's do a sign and trade and get somebody.
Sign and trade, yep. We have to. We can't let the same Frank Ntilikina situation go.
Word.
All right, let's see. What about Cam? Well, let's skip Cam for a second because we have a whole segment dedicated to Cam. Let's talk about Quick. So
you want to do a quick?
Go ahead.
I didn't know if you wanted to just say a quick hello to our friends on the SV Nation.
Yeah, definitely. We can give a shout out. I see Drip Moore in the chat. Salute to Drip Moore. Appreciate you tuning in. We've got our guy John Talento in the chat as well, one of the mods of the channel. Appreciate you tuning in and supporting. Delano Steele.
Yeah, the real DSJ. Hey, my friend D is balling. Everybody, I'm sure a lot of people in the Knicks fandom know D is balling is on the Knicks morning broadcast, the Knicks morning drive with Freezy. Shout out to Freezy, Miss Mocha. He does a fantastic job. More importantly, he's a good friend of mine. And more importantly from that, he had a birthday a couple days ago. So SV Nation, do me a favor, reach out to our friend D is balling. Wish him a happy birthday. He's one of the best people. He's a close friend of mine. And I'm really blessed that he is a good friend of mine. So we surveyed 100 people. What we call our field producer always lets us know the starting lineups. Again, Bayside Jr., thanks so much. Camario Jarvis, Anthony 212, Even Best all the time. I love my Bronx boys. So Even Best, Julian Blum, Justin L, Janine V. If I'll see you, Wilson Dang, DBR, Geraldine McIver, Citizen X, Adele Chapman. So I always just like to run off our family. So we'll catch you later in the Sports Vibe Lounge and get your questions. But we just wanted to share the love for a sec.
Thanks. Andrew says Knicks aren't getting Mitch for 12. I think there's actually, if you look at the other contracts, Robert Williams, he's making about 12. And then you also look at Wendell Carter. He's in that $12 million range as well. So there's other contracts you can point to. Those two guys have also dealt with injury concerns like a Mitchell Robinson, which probably lowered the value of their contracts. And Mitch still has the concerns with his foot. And, he's always limping here and there. So there are still injury concerns with Mitchell Robinson. So right around the $12-13 million ballpark, I think should be a nice, ground for us to meet his representatives and shake on it.
I'm with you. I wish I had a feel. He's that type of player that he's a kooky dude, man. You just don't know what he's gonna do. So
you never know what he's gonna do next. He's a wild card for sure.
For sure.
So yeah, let's talk about Quick. So Quick in the game against the Suns, he had 13 points, shot 4 of 8 from the field, 3 of 5 from the 3-point line, had 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and no turnovers. Now, I know you weren't a big fan of him playing point guard, but overall his production in that game, how did you feel? Were you happy with what we got from Quick?
Yeah, meaning I'm old school. Point guards and 2 assists don't work. It doesn't, if you're a point guard, Burks had 6 assists, so that's in the vicinity that I'm looking for a guy. But yeah, he had his 13 points, 4 for 8, like you said, shooting 3 for 5 from 3. So that's the type of shooting. 50% from field goal percentage and above 50% from 3. So I'll take that any day. 8 rebounds, beautiful game. So yeah, but and it's not his fault that I wanted him at the other guard. So yeah, he played well. It's just I think he throws other guys' timing off at the point guard. He just over dribbles so much and takes time off the clock, and it's just he's out of position. He's just another player on this team playing out of position.
Yeah, I was kind of excited to see Derrick Rose come back. Honestly, even though Derrick Rose is a vet, I wanted to see him come back and then move Emmanuel quickly off ball so that way we can see him a little bit more in his more natural position. Because right now it's hard to really analyze Quick as a player when he's playing out of position. It's hard to analyze a lot of these players because if they were to go to another team, they'd be utilized differently. So the scouting report you'd have for them, well, the scouting report would be different, but their performance out there on the court would change because they're in a more natural spot and they're not thinking as much as reacting. So, I mean, statistically, Quick had a solid game. I do like the fact that he had 8 rebounds. With me too, I think I would have liked him have a little bit more assists, and I would like him as the point guard get a little bit more chemistry with some of the guys in the second unit, especially Cam. I really don't see Quick look for Cam too often, and I think that's something that definitely has to be changed. You know, Cam starting to blossom when he's getting minutes out there, he's showing what he can do, and you know, with Quick out there being a player that can help space the court out, I would like to see you know, an actual point guard out there with those three.
Yeah, and it's a weird thing. I could see with both Quick and with Burks, and I've seen it with Burks, that in their natural position they get more assists than at the point guard position. So you know, they're more comfortable. They have to think too much. You know, they're not playing on react. You have to react, read and react, read and react. If you think you're dead in this league, and they're thinking at that position, and like you said, they're not seeing the thing. We're coming down, and we're like, oh my God, that guy's open. They're missing guys that are open, or they're getting the ball to him. In this league, it's like a safety with recovery speed. If you're a second late, that defender's back there. So they're missing open guys, and it's just we're asking something that you know they don't have, and I don't think they ever will have. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah, facts, Foxy. All right. Anything else you want to touch on in the game before we move ahead?
No, we touched on Randle again, him losing his thing, and Tibbs, you know, his rotations, you know, with Cam and with that. So no, I think we touched on everything in the game that you know, like we said, Randle started off fantastic, and then he just sabotaged the team for the umpteenth time this season. He wasn't there when we needed him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And I guess that brings us to our next topic. Now, Julius Randle, he got ejected. And also, there was a little bit of a hit piece dropped by Mark Berman saying that, you know, Julius Randle's erratic psyche is a growing Knicks concern amid teams' free fall. Now, we thought he was kind of out of this funk. I think, what was it? In January, he had a terrible month. And then it seemed like he was kind of finding his way in February, and now we had this blow up, I think, which was really unnecessary. You know, there was some tussling, but the fact that he had to go out there and take it a step further and give him an additional shove and push the ref in the process, I think was just uncalled for. If you look at what he's been doing this season, games played, he's had 61 games played. He's averaging 19.8 points per game. He's averaging 10 rebounds per game, 5.2 assists per game, and 3.5 turnovers per game.
But he's closing in on 4.
yeah. Closing in on 4 if you round up. And he's shooting 41.7% from the field and 30% from the 3-point line. So how have you felt about Julius Randle's performance so far this season? I know you mentioned at the top of the show, we got to move on from him. But if he's continuing to act like this, what are the Knicks going to get in return?
We're not going to get anything. Or like we talked about, at this point, we're only going to get another problem. We're going to have to trade our problem for somebody else's problem. That's at this stage. So he's sabotaged anything from a trade perspective. And it's crazy. You know what was surprising in that Berman article? He said that he wasn't in shape. Did you see that? That's the first I'm hearing that. You?
That is actually the first I'm hearing about it as well, to be honest.
Yeah, so I'm reading
he's out of shape. He looked in shape to me.
He looked in shape, but it was like, wow, that was the first time I'm hearing about it. I know the minutes and everything, but wow, where did that one come from? But yeah, he's been erratic the whole time, and so we've seen all the things from, you know, telling the fans what to do, to the thumbs down, to slapping a Fournier, to slapping a computer, to getting into an assistant coach, to, you know, this Cam and everything else, you know, and also what he's not hanging out in huddles. for during timeouts and everything. So, like I said, Tibbs won't do it, but he, like you said, he crossed the line. When is the line that they're going to do something? I think contractually, because of incentives and stuff, they can't bench him. I
Mm-hmm.
think to after the 65th game of the year, because the union will go crazy saying you benched him and he couldn't achieve his incentives. But I think after the 65th game, they can do what they want, but they won't. But they could if they would, if they wanted to send a signal to the young kids and stuff, like, from a culture perspective, that we have to have a decorum, a level of how you're supposed to act, on this team, and also the loyalty to your teammates. And he's letting his teammates down. It's not just him. It's what he's doing to the other teammates. And I shared with Keese again. My friend D shared with me during a game when we watched it together. RJ comes down and he goes to the left of the basket, and he posts up, puts his hand up to Burks, and what happens? Randle runs right in front of Burks, right in front of RJ to take his spot, and Burks passes to RJ. RJ takes a look, and he continues his rotation. Randle takes the ball. He goes across the paint, puts up a shot that missed. Mitch misses a rebound, a dunk, and the ball flies out and out of bounds, and Burks is on the floor. Burks gets up and he walks over to RJ, and he said something basically like, "I'm sorry," basically acknowledging that. I don't know if I've ever seen that, a player step in front of his own teammate to get the ball. So his actions are just so out of control now that if Burks, who's a real low key dude, he's a very quiet guy, for him to walk over and have a shake RJ's hand, basically acknowledging him to him, like that was I'm not going to condone that, man. I saw what Randle did. I'm sorry, man. So I'm hoping that if Randle's still here, if we don't get rid of this guy in the offseason, because what Keith just brought up, I think we're at the level now that we have to take a penny on the dollar and just say, hey, we need to get him off the team, because this is about development. We've talked about the kids on this team. He's now at the point of hindering development for kids, for our kids to have, the right attitude and everything else. And also, we see everybody else rotations moving and moving. He gets the ball. He kills this team. He kills everything. I've called him from day one the rhythm killer, the rhythm vampire. So we can't get rid of him quick enough in my book.
I hear you. We got a super chat from Buzzer Beater. He says, why don't we run horns? We have Obi and Randle. Well, we really don't have those two out there on the court at the same time, and we don't really run much. There's times where I see the Knicks out there, and I don't know what they're trying to achieve. What's the goal of the play that they're running? Everybody looks discombobulated. It's poor execution, and honestly, when you look at the film, it just looks like they're poorly coached. Honestly, in terms of this question specifically, we just don't have Obi and Randle out there on the court together often, and that's more so to do with us defensively not having a rim protector. I think there was a period in the first Philadelphia 76ers game where we did have Obi and Randle out there, and Randle just was not giving the type of rim protection you would want from a big, and you can see why Tibbs doesn't have those two out there on the court as often as we would like.
Yeah. We see some pistol action and stuff like that, but so many times it just goes off script ISO ball, and especially in the fourth quarter in crunch time. Yeah. Forget about any regimented scheme or offensive play. It's like they just don't know what the hell they're doing. This team is in desperate need.
They need an offensive coordinator.
An offensive coordinator, a point guard, and if Randle's on this team, a point guard who will look him off. Who literally, and I don't care if he walks up to him, I'll dribble the other direction. It's come to that point. We have to look him off, man. If he's open, he has a great shot, fine. Otherwise, we're not going to give the ball to you to dribble. As Wally says, anything over 2 dribbles with Julius is a turnover around the corner. He doesn't want to believe it, but all of our facts show the truth.
Also, we've got our field reporter holding us down. He says the Knicks starting 5 tonight will be Alec Burks, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. So
surprise.
Evan Best says Randle needs a new team.
Yeah.
Yep. I wouldn't disagree with you there. I think with the article though, what was a little concerning is that the front office, they're kind of shocked at the way he's been performing or reacting to the media or just reacting to any kind of person on the team, because even his own teammates he's trying to come at. Like Tibbs was trying to hold him back. He's kind of pushing him a little bit aggressively. I'm like, bro, relax. It doesn't look like it was that egregious out there. He pushed you, you pushed him. Go handle it out there on the court. And now you allow Cam to get the best player or the best performing player out the game, and then he was able to follow it up with a 21-point quarter.
Yeah, I thought he was meaning he was playing very physical with Cam. There was a play earlier in the game where he could have easily been called for an offensive foul. In fact, he left the court. Cam, I think he hit him right in the sternum, Randle with his shoulder, and Cam on the play left the court. I don't know if you remember that. He came back, obviously, and killed us to win the game, but he was playing very, very physical against Cam, thinking that he was wussing out, and when Cam showed anything, then all of a sudden he comes up. But one of the telling things was after the game, they interviewed RJ and a couple others, and they said, "Did you talk to Randle?" And he went, "No."
No, yeah, that was... So was he in the locker room? Did he leave early?
Well, he wasn't made available for the press, I know, Randle, after the game. But the fact that RJ and Burks and a few others said, "Nah, I didn't talk to Randle."
That means he probably wasn't there, because I don't see the players walking into the locker room, seeing Julius Randle there and just decide not to speak with him. So that means he probably left the arena early after he got ejected, if he's not there to speak with anybody.
Either that
or
the
team wasn't going to force him to speak to the media. So I
either
wouldn't
that
be
or
shocked if he skipped it.
the cliques of the team that basically they're now like saying he's a loner. His only friend is Tibbs. Screw this dude. That nobody's talking to him. They don't want to talk to him. So you see on the bench when he's acting, he has bad behavior. Their eyes it's like he's invisible. He's becoming invisible to them. That, it's like the boy that cried wolf. They're just tired of his routine. So that really said a lot to me, that the new face of this franchise, it's like, nah, why am I going to waste my time talking to that dude?
Yep. But it's unfortunate this is where we are, especially after a season like last year, where, we keep saying it was a magical season. He probably had what's going to be the best season of his career, and to see the Knicks and him follow it up like this is just stressful, honestly, as a Knicks fan. It's hard to have positive takeaways from this season, especially with the way Randle is acting and the way Tibbs is coaching.
Yeah, he's having a Nick Anderson. He's having an emotion. He's mentally broken. That he's so sensitive to the level that anything could set him off now, and that I don't know if he could ever recover. I absolutely, and I've said this a while ago, his ceiling was last year. I don't think he'll ever have a better season than last year. So from this point on, we'll see 20, 10, and 5. But again, we'll see around 4 turnovers. So it's not really 20, 10, and 5. It's more like 14 if you add the points from that they score on the turnovers that he causes. So, and also always the turnovers at the worst possible time, and always, the look like, and it's like, what are you looking at him for? You are the one that made the turnover, man. Like I said, I love when somebody goes, it's on me, man. My fault. But
my fault.
Very seldom you ever see that from that dude.
Facts. All right, let's see. We got another super chat from Buzzer Beater. He says, "Who's the best point guard in the draft, Ty or Caleb Love?" I think you see neither, right?
Yeah, but it's hysterical because I was talking to a couple of friends of mine, and I said to him, what's funny, and this is that deal. Tell people in the chat and stuff. I brought up Caleb Love a week or so ago and said that he's much more athletic. He's, I think, an inch taller than Ty. If his shooting comes back, I personally don't think either of them. I think they'd both be second rounders on last year's draft. I don't like Ty. This is what I said to a couple of friends of mine. Hey, breaking news! And because they played Florida on Saturday, and I watched a ton of basketball games, so I could talk to the SV Nation about the draft and stuff. So I sent out a thing. I said, extra. It's 40 seconds left in the game, and Ty just scored his third and fourth point of the game. So, Ty is not the answer. Ty won't ever be the answer. And anybody that says you got to bring him to the closest optometrist that Caleb Love, I think, is absolutely a good second round pick. Not for us. The whole thing, and the easiest way for me to say is, folks, Deuce and Rokas is better than any point guard in this draft. So there's no reason for us to draft anybody, a point guard in this draft, because we have two guys that are better than anyone that's available this year. So no need. So Ty, note, Caleb Love, I think is a project, but I think he's has more potential than Ty. Thank you so much, Buzzer. Appreciate the generosity in the super chat.
I appreciate the super chat. Let's see what we else have. What else?
Yeah, just real quick, folks. We have 190 people in the chat. We have 50 likes. So do us a solid and please smash that like. Please smash that subscribe and please turn on that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content from Sports Vibe TV. Also, please share the link on your favorite social media platforms. And as always, shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do.
Bayside Junior says Rokas might be legit, but is he coming? I think he didn't want to leave. Remember in Summer League, he actually requested more time to stay and play with the team, but he had to go over to Barcelona and head over there and play with them. So hopefully if this offseason comes and the Knicks find space for him on the roster, I think we should have him over here with this club. I think he spent his time over at Barcelona and he's definitely developed. And now he can actually be a contributor here on this team. So I think next season you'll see Rokas in a Knicks jersey unless we trade him in a bigger move.
I thought you were going to say one other thing, unless we still have Tibbs.
Because Tibbs doesn't like international players either.
Yeah, so it's like, yo.
He's young and international. Tibbs won't play him a minute.
Hey, did you hear Richard Jefferson on the ESPN thing the other day? Say what he said about, and again, shout out to my friend D for pointing this out, and I listened to it, that he said that for young players, Tibbs is the worst coach that any young player could ever play for. And, the worst coach in 20 years, I think, is the exact thing. And that the only reason he's playing rookies this year is because of injuries. But Richard Jefferson felt very comfortable by saying this is the wrong coach for a young team. So he's a real player. So meaning they know, so if they're saying that Jeff Van Gundy, everything, I don't mess with people's livelihoods. I'm very sensitive. But the minute RJ got hurt in garbage time, the minute he played Mitch for 41 minutes after an ankle, he played RJ. He runs guys into the ground. I'm tired of it, man. Yeah. Went from a bad coach to a dangerous coach.
Yeah, I wish we would have gotten Atkinson, man. I still think this team would have been firing all cylinders by now if we had Atkinson working with some of these young guys.
Yep. So how many minutes for Taj tonight instead of Sims? It's like
honestly, the only reason we're seeing Sims play is because Nerlens is hurt. Because it was kind of funny that the fact that Tibbs started going from Mitch to Sims. They didn't make any announcements saying Sims was elevated on the depth chart. It wasn't until Bondi did some sneaking around trying to figure out what was going on that he realized that Nerlens Noel is dealing with plantar fasciitis, and now he's being listed on the injury report once again with a foot issue. So
yeah, and
that's why Sims is getting minutes right now, not because Tibbs is making a shift in the way he coaches.
I'm looking to the future. No, you're not. So yeah, but when I saw that Obi's out tonight, Noel, I just it's like, man, there's no contact or anything for this guy to be out this year. So one thing after the other. Wow.
Yeah, D's Baldwin says I wouldn't bring Rokas with this current administration.
Yeah, he's right, man. Or any of the kids, but yeah, but. Definitely see Rokas. He sees the game. We talked about Giddey. Some guys see the floor on a different level. And also one of the things, Keith and I talked about, he scored 9 points in crunch time for Barcelona in their key game. Their number one point guard was injured. He came in. So you want to see on a big stage, it's the second best league in the world, that he had ice in his veins, man. So this is a young kid who stepped in for the starting point guard and hit 9 points in crunch time to lead Barcelona to a victory. Wow. His shooting percentage from three, his everything that he's doing. You're just saying extremely efficient, that you're saying, we're not saying starting. Let's take baby steps, but I could absolutely see him start off on the second team. And I'd love, this is a guy who makes the players around him better. So yeah, I hope Rokas comes. with Kenny Atkinson.
Yep. And we already know he has some chemistry on the court with some of our young guys already. He was out there in Vegas with Obi, with Quick, with Deuce, Grimes, myself. He was all out there chopping it up.
Yeah. So, well, I know you're tight with him, but hey, I still got the picture of you and Mitch with your thing around you
on the flight back from Vegas.
Your neck pillow.
Yeah, right. You would have thought I took the neck pillow off before the photo, but nope. I was just happy to take the flick.
Yeah, well, it looked cool either way, man.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. Like I said, he's a little quirky, but hey.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Do you think there's any chance that we lose almost every other game on this West Coast trip, that Tibbs could be gone and Johnny steps in? Or are they going to just say, no, we'll just go through the rest of the season?
The thing is, Rose and Tibbs have a relationship. So I think this late into the season, I don't know if they'd want to thrust Johnny Bryant in. Well, maybe they might, because if you thrust him in for the last 10, 15 games, then you can make an analysis of his coaching ability. But you have Leon Rose and you have Tom Thibodeau. They have a relationship. So I could see them allowing Tibbs to finish the season and then make a decision at that point. But to fire him in the middle of the season, if they weren't going to do it after the All-Star break, I just don't see them trying to go ahead and do it now.
And I know this is
All-Star break would have been a perfect time.
A perfect time. But this is a crazy take, folks. But I'm starting to think that it's a blessing in disguise that we have Tibbs, because Tibbs rotations playing the vets will lose more games with Tibbs and get a better draft choice. Because I think if he played the kids, we'll win more games. They'll play defense. And so it's like, yo, there goes our draft choice because he put the kids in. So, Tibbs, you just keep doing what you're doing, and we're going to come in with a real elite player.
Facts. So, Buzzer Beater got another super chat. He says, who do we draft? Do we keep, I'm assuming that's Mitch, and fire Tibbs? Well, yeah, I definitely think we should keep Mitch, especially at a reasonable cost.
At the value.
Tibbs has to go. Tibbs has to go. If you let me run the organization, I'd sign Mitch to a nice 4-year, maybe 3-year and an option. $48 million deal. That'd be $12 million a year. And then move on from Tibbs and bring in Kenny Atkinson. If he's not a guy that's going to be able to leave the Warriors and come over, then maybe I'd pursue Johnny Bryant. It looks like he has a good rapport with RJ, with Quick, and I think that's important as well. So if I can't get my number one guy in Atkinson, I'd definitely be open to then giving Bryant an opportunity.
Yeah. And Tibbs, you don't have to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here.
Snapple fact.
Yeah.
Snapple fact. What else we got going on? Taj is doubtful for tonight. Yeah. Taj should be doubtful for every game moving forward. I was so shocked when I got home that one game against the 76ers, and I'm like, why is Taj in the game? I thought we would do this already. I thought we got past this. No more Taj, no more Nerlens. It's just going to be Mitch and Sims. And here we go, Taj getting more minutes than Sims again in the game. I was like, wow.
Yeah, because I'm like saying at this stage, the only reason that Taj gets minutes is that both Mitch and Sims fouled out. And if they haven't fouled out, then there's no reason for him to be in the game.
Yeah. Let's see. Dana Mack says Dolan might clean up the office if this continues. I sound like a broken record, but James Dolan, he has already done it with the Rangers, so there's precedent for it.
Yeah. Hi, Dana.
Yeah, Evan Best says Nerlens is on his way out. Yep, as he should.
I wish with that contract. I don't know how we can get rid of with that contract, man.
I was kind of shocked when I saw him. He didn't have the hair tied up. I was like, yo, he's definitely not getting in the game at this point. He's got his head down.
I did not recognize him at first. And all of a sudden it hit me. I went, wow, I think that's the first time I ever saw him with his hair down like that.
Yeah, shocked me. I was like, wow. Yeah, he's not getting in. All right, Foxy. Let's move ahead in the show. And let's talk about another young guy that we feel isn't getting utilized properly. And that's going to be Cam Reddish. Now, the Knicks invested a first overall pick and Kevin Knox in a deal to bring him in. Yeah, the former first pick to bring him in. And it seems like he's now at least somewhat part of the rotation, but I still don't think he's getting nearly enough minutes. And I'm kind of concerned what's going to happen with his minutes when Grimes eventually comes back and when Derrick Rose eventually comes back, because Tibbs keeps saying it. You can't keep adding people to the rotation without taking someone out. And I think if you look at the players that are in the rotation now, Cam would probably be on the cutting block, especially since we know that Tibbs is a fan of grime. So what have you seen from Cam during his limited minutes on the court? And how do you think the Knicks should utilize him to at least put him in the best position to compete for more minutes out there on the court?
Um, like we talked about, he has things that only God can give you, man. His length, his athleticism, his left hand. You know, he'll make a play. He'll fake one way, go the other, and finish with his left hand. His jumper, and he looks like he does it in slow motion. You know, sometimes you watch Luka and other players, and you're like, "Yo," and the ball went in. Whoa! He does it so effortlessly that I really want to see him with RJ. I really want to do that. And I'm like saying to myself, there's no strategy with this team. So we're 6 games out, I believe, now from the Hawks. And so is the math is going to be the thing, like, say, I want to see Cam with RJ. I don't want to see Cam on the second team play with other guys. I really want to see him playing. He has all the talent in the world that this guy, that if we have the right situation, and I think RJ could be one of the keys to unlock that there'll be a comfort zone, them playing together. So he has so many tools in the toolbox that's incredible, that if you get his head right, it was a brilliant trade. It was a win-win, type of trade. You weren't getting anything from Knox, and the first round would ultimately turn out to be maybe a role player. So it was a good trade, but put him in a position to, put him with the right players to succeed, man, so he can get his rhythm. But every time you see him, you see these flashes and like, wow, if he could put it together, wow. And he has that length, that disruptive length, in the passing lanes. And again, our friend JD shared some information. He's really on certain plays, on deflecting balls and stuff. He's really up there on the defensive side of the ball. So with the right coaching and the right players alongside him, one of them not being Randle, I think he could really, and you know what? This is a crazy take again, but he's literally almost the same size as Obi, and with Randle, he's 6'8", and he has a 7'1" wingspan, this guy. I mean, prototype. Throw him at the 4. It's a different NBA
saw him
today.
At the 4 for a little bit of time.
I know, but there. Yeah, so I'm like saying, play him at the 3, and if the guy gets tired, throw him at the 4. But at this point in time, seriously, he should not have less than 30 minutes a game from this point on. If you really want to assess his talent, shouldn't be less than 30 minutes. And if Burks is taking it, Fournier's taking it, Obi's, or whomever, nothing less than 30 minutes from this point on for this young man.
Yeah, I'd love to see him in the starting unit as well. But even when he's in the second unit, at least feature him more on offense. We've seen a few times where he's able to attack the basket off the dribble, something few players on that second unit can do off by themselves, and create and finish. And, his three-point shot has been erratic at times, but I think that's more so with his shot selection. But the tools
also
are
rhythm.
There. And
how
rhythm,
do you get rhythm? You got to get time.
14 minutes.
Yeah,
exactly. Hard to get your timing. And I think another thing we're seeing is he can be a solid rebounder, and he's also a decent. He's a pretty good passer. I think the issue with Cam, that a lot of people underrate his passing ability, is the fact that with the Hawks, he wasn't really a willing passer because they didn't really ask him to pass too much. Now here with the Knicks, you're starting to see when he's able to get into the basket, get into the paint, he's finding his teammates with some nice passes, and if he can continue to build upon that, I'm not saying he should go out there and be a point forward, but in an offense where you're trying to keep moving the rock, I think Cam could be somebody that you can use maybe in some pick and rolls just to try to set things up, especially when RJ's not in and you have just Cam out there in the second unit. Let's try some of that as opposed to just having him stand out there in a corner. I forgot who tweeted it. It might have been Swinny Pooh, and it says when Tibbs has a player that he doesn't know what to do with them, he just has them stand in the corner, and he pointed out to Kevin Knox, Cam Reddish, Obi Toppin, and a few other players.
The laundry list.
So it's a laundry list of players. So let's have somebody sit with Cam, find out what he likes to do within the offense, and let's feature some more of that out there, especially if he's going to be playing majority of his minutes with the second unit. If he's going to be with the second unit, he should have that freedom to create for himself out there on the offense. Not go nut, not go pecan. I'm not saying any of that. But at least let's run some of the offense through Cam when he's out there, as opposed to have him standing in the opposite corner.
Yeah, and without D Rose here, we virtually have nobody that can break down a D. And all of a sudden you see Cam like, yo, he got effortlessly. I thought they were cutting everybody. He got to the hole when he wanted to get to the hole. So you're like, wow, he has such skills, man. Put him in a situation to succeed, man. Wow, you can't teach his stuff. Like I said, he has stuff from the Lord. And if we could harness that, he could be really special. And like I said, after watching Tatum today, oh my God, to have a player like that, but also I want to do. They have Tatum and Brown when he gets healthy. I want us to have the RJ and Cam.
And then you find a nice point guard to throw in the mix. You got Mitch being your defensive center, and you cooking with gas.
And then you select Benjamin Mathurin with a pick. Another wing. As Toronto and a lot of teams show, you can't have enough wings in this league.
Yep. Let's see what Bagger Jones says. If Knicks don't fire Tibbs and Cams gets traded, do you guys think RJ would think twice of re-signing with the team? I don't know. I don't think he would go against re-signing with the team just because they traded Cam.
Yeah. If
also, I think he wants the max deal from his team.
Ding.
Yeah, and the additional bonuses.
I think it's 180 million or something like that. So
yeah,
very difficult if they say 180 million. Yo, I can still be Broadway.
Tibbs aren't messing his money up.
I can still be Broadway Barrett on a bad team, man. Give me the bag.
In the Big Apple.
In the Big Apple.
FW says we go Knicks from Chile. Salute to the watchers from Chile. Appreciate you guys.
Hey, how are you? Thank you. And everyone in the chat.
TV is international.
Yeah, do us a favor, everyone in chat. If you do a hashtag new, so we could see that, and the mods will also see that, and give you the proper hello.
Yep. UBG says, seen how Cam was just smiling the other night when Dub Tibbs benched him.
It's better than crying, man. What are you going to do? Yeah, but I'm sure he's crying
with the coach.
Crying on the inside, like saying, and it's funny what you said about with him at Atlanta. Folks, if I play with Trey and that guy is so ball dominant, I would have shot selection, meaning I get the ball. Screw you, Trey. I haven't got past all night. I'm putting this ball up, man. Yep. Every time I get the ball is because otherwise I ain't going to get a shot with you around.
That's a Snapple fact. It reminds me of a Deuce when Deuce finally gets into a game. When Tim puts Deuce in the game, Deuce says, I'm chucking.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yep, there goes a 3.
I don't know when the next time I'm touching the court, so I got to get mine right now.
And when it went in, I was so happy for that kid. That 3 when it went in. So it's like, put me in. I can hit more of these.
So I can.
And you saw him in person. Hey, just real quick. Do me a favor. Give the SV Nation. You saw him in person. You were only a couple inches, feet from him and stuff like that. It's a whole different perspective, folks, as you know, when you go to a game. What was your in-person, that close-up perspective of watching him, dominate in the G League the other night?
Well, he's about the same size as me in terms of height, not much bigger, but he's stocky for his height. And I like the fact that he was able to take over the game in that fourth quarter, just to be able to see him say, all right, I'm no longer going to be a facilitator per se. I'm going to go and get mines. And he was able to put the team on his back, will them into a victory. I thought the Westchester Knicks were going to pull off somewhat of a New York Knicks impersonation with the way we've been performing in fourth quarters. But Miles McBride, Deuce, he said, I'm not about to let that happen. Not only was he doing it offensively, he also made the game sealing steal right in front of us. I was able to record that moment. He picked off an inbound pass, and then he was able to get the ball up the court for them to score. And then right off that score, they were able to steal another pass. Didn't involve Deuce, but that second
close out the game. Another
bucket. Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
Man, he had a monster jam too, man. It's like you said, he's 6'1", but damn, he looked like
I think it was the second actually.
With that 6'9", man, that he went up and man did it. That was a beautiful jam, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was with I actually went with a subscriber. We went to the game over in Connecticut. Shout out to Jesse. We chopped it up, drank some beers, watched the game, and enjoyed ourselves. So that was a dope moment.
Definitely saw the video on Twitter, so I was glad I saw both of you having that big smile on your face, and I was trying to pick you out. Like where is he? Because I'm like I see how close you are to the bench. I'm like, he has to be around there. So I'm like,
you can see me. I'm about 4 or 5 rows up, and I got my trench coat and I got my white SV hoodie. It's a little pixelated, so you can't see,
but that incredible white smile of yours, it's easy. So it's like,
you probably can't see that.
I was about to say those little pearly whites. That's my guy, Keys. Zero in on them pearly whites.
Yeah, right. Let's see what Geraldine has to say. She says, "Do you think they will sign RJ, Cam, Mitch this offseason?" I expect them to extend RJ if he continues to play well. Cam's a crapshoot. I really don't know what the plan is for Cam because we haven't seen him been incorporated into the team much. I think now Tibbs has kind of been forced to throw Cam out there due to the injuries, and we still don't know what the long-term plan is for Cam. We don't know what they traded him for or what position they wanted to put him in when they made the trade. Because if you let Tibbs tell it, Tibbs didn't want any part of the deal because he didn't have any room for him in his rotation. So it remains to be seen what we decide to do with Cam. I wouldn't be shocked if they move on from Cam in the offseason. Honestly, if they're going to stick with Tibbs and this is going to be Tibbs' mindset moving forward, it wouldn't shock me if we did move Cam in a bigger deal.
I'm with you. They have to clean up some space if they want to sign, and we'll get into it in a little while, a Brunson or somebody like that. They're going to have to clear some space, get rid of Burke's contract, and try to get rid of others. But if they do that, and we get a draft choice and get ourselves a wing like a Matherin or somebody else, they may say, you know what, we'll use Cam and trade, and we got a new kid coming in that we can mold. So and go from there. But it'd be a crime of not giving Cam, like we just talked about. We see him effortlessly do things against, and we touched on this a week or so ago, and it just sticks in my head that after games, you watch the players come over to Cam. So when the players know that you're a baller, usually it's like going through the line, hi, yeah, good game, but they stop with Cam, they hug him, they talk for a second. They have so much respect for his game. So if the players have respect for his game, you gotta give this guy a chance. It's lunacy. If they're nobody's a better barometer of talent than players because they're the actually ones going up against you.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting comment from Cecilia the Genius. He says, I honestly think Cam going to Duke and then to Atlanta stunted his growth. I would agree on that because you see Cam, he was a special player coming out of high school. Then you go to a team where you're playing behind RJ and Zion, who are both two options ahead of you. And then you go to a place like Atlanta where you have Trae Young, who's ball dominant, and they go and they bring in some other wings like DeAndre Hunter and Herter, who kind of fight and take some minutes from you as well. So I agree. I think Cam going to those two situations definitely did slow his ability or his potential to grow and become a star in the league. And I think the same thing is going to be said here in New York, dealing with a coach like Tibbs. So it's unfortunate, honestly, when you look at the way his career trajectory has been so far.
I'm with you. And great thing is usually sincere. Thanks so much for one after the other great comments. Yeah, we just said that. Yeah, he gets to the basket effortlessly.
At ease.
At ease, and either hand again. That changes everything because when you have that big body and that length, you could shield using that left hand. Depending on you could shield, and the same thing on the other side. So that's a real powerful combination to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's just honestly, I would just want us to use him more, and I don't understand how you guys, how not you guys, but how the players, not the players, how the coaches and the coaching staff can see what he can do on film and not find ways to put him in position to benefit the team. And that just tells me we might have the wrong coaching staff outside of just Tibbs, because what are the other guys doing to try to get these guys in a position to score? Because Tibbs is not an offensive guru. So do we have other guys on the coaching staff that can step in and say, all right, let's try this play, let's try this motion, let's see if we can get a certain player in this spot where he can attack the defense in a better position.
Yeah, and another thing from watching so many games with Tibbs, you see him standing up the whole game, yelling, standing there, into the game, but he's away from his assistant coaches. He's not with an assistant coach right next to him, like whispering, saying, hey, did you see that? He's isolated. And there's times that I say to myself, wow, look at that. He's all by himself. He's watching a game. You see him call a timeout, and you could see in his head, he formulates what he wants to say, but he's not talking to his assistant coaches to see whether or not they picked up something. So this is, he's not utilizing in the way that he should be utilizing. And I think we're seeing the impact on the team.
I mean, Bagley did mention that the offense was a collaborative process, but If that's the case, then I would be concerned if you
That we
guys
need
think
new
Johnny
coaches
Bryant
because
should
we're
be the
30th in the league.
yeah. If you guys think Johnny Bryant is going to be the next head coach is going to take us somewhere, you should be concerned if it's a collaborative process and Johnny Bryant is part of that process and this offense still stinks.
Yeah. So yeah, the numbers show it's like we're 30th in the league, no assists. You know, we were saying we don't know. You brought up why don't we do the horns? Yeah, exactly, or all these other things. So yeah, if that's collaborative, then I think you need new collaborators.
Yep. That's a fact. Or you need a new point guard or a point guard at least. And I think that leads us right into the next topic where an article was dropped by Stefan Bondi of the Daily News. And in it, he says the Knicks' strong interest in Brunson is well known in NBA circles, but the Mavs, pushing towards contention with Luka running the show, resisted trading their starting point guard despite discussions, according to a league source. It says the new mix hasn't drastically cut into Brunson's minute yet, but there's been a slight decrease. For instance, he played less than 30 minutes Thursday for just the second time in the last 20 games, with Dinwiddie subbing out Brunson for the final 6.5 minutes. So now the Dallas Mavericks, they have traded for Spencer Dinwiddie. They have his contract now in the books. So it seems like Brunson may be the odd man out. And this would definitely be in the Knicks' favor if they think Brunson could be that guy to help elevate this team at the point guard position. So how would you feel, Foxy, if the Knicks were able to go out there and get Brunson, and at what price point would you want them to go and pursue him at?
I would be so happy because what we talked about, Ty is not the answer. You know, Caleb Love is not the answer. Alondas Williams from Wake Forest is not the answer. Whomever you're talking about, this is a professional point guard. You know, Villanova tough. We talked about his dad. He knows the business. He knows what it takes to be a professional. He makes the players around them. You know, and also he's not a ball dominant like a De'Aaron Fox. We're all about RJ developing. We're all about Mitch, if he's here, and Cam and Quentin Grimes and all the young kids. This is the type of point guard that, you know, will allow to give the ball up. So, yeah, and also they just extended. So they have, Luka's contract is going into the max next year. So I think he's making 36 million next year. And Dinwiddie has a contract, so that's about $50 million in the point guard position. And they just extended Dorian Finney. You know, I think for 50,
making 19.5 next year.
So yeah, exactly. So you add that, so round it off the 20, and then you add the 30 some odd, probably 36 million with that he's making, Luka, and then you throw in a couple of the other things. So I hope he's the odd man out. It would make all the sense in the world. There's not a point guard. And Deuce and Rokas, they're years away from having the talents of this guy. So I absolutely have no problem paying him 20 million. You know, we talked about CP and Conley and, you know, Lowry. It's such a shortage of quality point guards that they're willing to pay. So, yep, we're going to have to pay a tax, but he will change the team. He will stabilize this team, stabilize the point guard position, and because of the type of play, like I said, it will not hinder the growth and development of the young players, which is our future. So I think he's the perfect point guard for the New York Knicks.
Yeah, 23 might be a little too steep for me. I tried to see if we can get him in like the $18-19 million range. You look at players like Mike Conley, he's making 22. Brogdon's making 22. Terry Rozier is making 21. FVV, and these are all next year salaries.
Yeah.
Fred VanVleet is making 21.2 next year. And then you've got Lonzo Ball, he's making 19.5. And, you know, I'm looking at his contract when I'm trying to negotiate with the Brunson, him, not maybe Marcus Smart as well. So Marcus Smart's right around 17 million. So those two, I would try to see if I can get between the 17 to 19 million dollar range.
Yeah,
23 might be a little too much, but if we can get Brunson and we can fill up the rest of this roster with some shooters, then I would be open to it.
Yeah, I think you're right in the range, but unfortunately, versus other things like, you know what, I can get another power forward. When you're at the point guard position, sometimes you have to pay a little of a premium. And I like you said, we want to do all these other things. So I'd love us to get, with his father, being tight with Rose and everything else. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a discount, like you said, in the 18 range or something. but I think he would absolutely change. We could change this whole reconstruct our roster by signing Brunson, moving RJ back to the 2 spot where I think he's optimized at 6'6", bullying undersized shooting guards, and having Cam at the 3, and then drafting a Ben Mathurin. And then, if we can keep a Mitch, I think we're on our way. And then the only other thing that we could do to better this team is get rid of Randle, because even Brunson, I think Randle's at the stage now that there's not a player that'll make him better. What he'll do is make everybody else worse, or he'll take away from other people playing at their optimal level. So I think job one is getting rid of Randle. But on the pregame, George asked me last pregame, folks, hey Foxy, if there's one thing that the Knicks can do, and my answer was sign Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up moving RJ back to the 2. I thought that's why we traded for Cam. I thought that was the whole deal of making the move for Cam. You can put RJ back in his natural position at the 2, and then we have a legit, wing in Cam with the size, with the defensive capabilities, and with the offensive skill set to be a difference maker out there on the court. To me, that's that made sense. But I guess the Tibbs, he just didn't see the vision, and I guess he knows Fournier is a veteran with a big contract, so that's why he has him still starting at the 2 and RJ starting out of position. Because let's be honest, RJ really is playing out of position this whole season, so we're seeing him take steps in the right direction and start to get better at the game, and this is all while playing out of position. So imagine if RJ was actually able to be at the 2, his natural position, and go up against some of these smaller players at the 2.
Yeah, I'd rather Cam at his size, 6'8" in length, go up against a Tatum than throwing an RJ at these guys that are just too big for him.
Yeah, that's a fact. Let's see what we have going on in the chat.
Hey, our family, Adele Chapman has a super chat. Another one of my Bronx boys now with his family, has a beautiful family.
Let's see. Okay, here we go from Adele Chapman. It says, if I'm Rokas, I'm not coming to this poo-poo show.
Adele, you're the coolest, man. And you know what? You're 100% right, man. Who would want to come to this poo-poo show, man?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't blame him. He's probably living life over there in Barcelona.
I was blessed in my life to travel the world, and Barcelona is my second favorite city in the world. It is a magnificent city. The people, the architecture, the food, everything else about it. It's a really phenomenal place. And if there's a poo-poo show here, why should I come here when I can hang out there and have a good life?
Yeah, I've never been to Spain, but it's definitely on my bucket list.
Phenomenal country.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got going on. Sincere the Genius, just like he said, move RJ back to the 2 and guard the PG and at D Grant. Oh, we're talking to D Grant. Yeah, I just piggybacked off of Foxy's point. Let's see.
But it sounds better when you say it.
Yeah, I'll run with it. Israel Moyet says, I can't believe Tibbs hasn't been fired yet. I'm there with you. I thought it was going to be done over the All-Star break after we, gave up multiple 20-point leads and still found a way to lose. But if that wasn't enough to push the front office over the edge, I'm not sure what it'll take.
Yeah, what we opened up the show with, it's mind-boggling. In the fourth quarter, we're saying that the Knicks, the fourth quarter point differential over just this past month, we're minus 103, and the second place team is the Rockets at minus 36. If anything doesn't jump out and say, wow, we got it, something's wrong here, man. The Pistons minus 30, meaning the top 3 teams in the draft this year are playing better than in us.
How would you feel about this, Foxy? I would use Obi to move up in the draft.
I'm not a big fan of Obi. He's a tweener. If you look at his stats, he can't shoot from mid-range. He can't shoot from 3. You can't really, his handles, he doesn't really be able to make a shot. He can't post up because he's too small. He's not strong enough to post up a real 4. Forget about 5. A real 4. He's too slow to cover a 3, and he can't shoot the 3 enough to be a stretch 4. So I have no problem. Obi's fantastic in dunking. He's really a good dunker. So if we had a dunk contest every game, I would keep him, but we don't. And so he's a good kid and everything. But you know what bothers me about Obi? He smiles too much when we lose. I want somebody that I'm serious. I like somebody. I love players where losing hurts. You show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. I want people who don't like to lose. And, you look at the greats, they don't like to lose. Obi and Mitch and a couple of the players on the team, they're wonderful kids. But when we lose, they're like, all right, what do you want to do tonight? I want somebody like
bowling.
I want somebody like RJ that says, I'm pissed I missed the foul shots. The first thing out of his mouth, he's reviewing what he didn't do well rather than, everything's cool. So Obi, great kid. He's older. His ceiling, I don't know, man. I have no problem us moving Obi at all. But to move up in the draft, I think the talent evaluators in this league are saying the same thing I am, that he is, he's great in transition if that's the type of ball you're playing. But God, he still makes defensive assignment mistakes one after the other. And if he played better defense, he'd be getting more minutes. Tibbs, we're beating on him, but whether it was Knox, if you don't play on this team, it's because you're making mistakes on defense. And Obi, with all the things I just said, look at his stats mid-range, look at his stats 3-point, and look at his mistakes on defense. I have no problem getting rid of him. Bad move. We shouldn't be talking about Brunson. He shouldn't be being up there because we should have Halliburton as our point guard.
Yeah. That's
so
a fact.
honestly,
that's what. Speaking of Halliburton, he just played against KP today. No,
I know today was his first game, KP, but I did not. I was a little out of doing some stuff, so I did not. I thought they were playing later, but I didn't know that they already played.
Yeah, I think final 133-123.
Who won?
Halliburton. Wizards. I apologize. Halliburton had 15 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals, holding it down for me in fantasy once again. And then KP, former Knick that got jettisoned from the Dallas Mavericks to the Washington Wizards, he had a pretty decent showing in his first game back. 25 points, 5 rebounds, 7 to 12 from the 7 to 12 from the field, I apologize, and then 3 or 4 from the 3-point line.
Yeah, because when I saw that, I went, damn, because I want both Washington and Indiana to win. So we keep falling back in the numbers race for a better draft choice. So I said, all right, but Washington's ahead of us. So if they won, that's cool. I don't want us making that. I don't want us making that play in. No way, no how, because I really feel whether it's a Mathurin, whether it's a Jaden Ivey, whether it's a Johnny Davis, whomever, that us adding an elite talent is more valuable for the future of this team for us to play, win a couple of extra games and then not get the player that can make a difference for the future of this franchise.
Yeah, so I mean, now that we're discussing teams around the league, are you happy that we decided to move on from KP and that drama is no longer, that cloud is no longer over the franchise?
Oh, absolutely. But, we touched on Mitch before. It's very, very difficult to have a player that you on a squad that every game you have to say Hail Mary and light a candle that they're not going to get injured. And KP will always have that. He had it at Dallas. Why do you think they gave up on him? I don't think, what I said about Mitch, folks, I don't think Mitch will ever play an 82-game season. And it's the same thing. KP will never play an 82-game season. And you don't mind if they play 75 or something, but they're not. They're nowhere near that, man. And KP, knee bothers him, back's bothering him, other knees bothering him. It's, and it's a shame because he has unbelievable talent.
Yeah, right. And his shooting ability at that size, the way he can block shots.
Original unicorn that'll be replaced this year by Chet Holmgren as the new unicorn.
Facts. So let's continue talking about teams around the league. We've got some more news when it comes to Zion Williamson. Apparently, he's returned to New Orleans after nearly 2 months in Portland, rehabbing his injured foot. It says on Wednesday, the Pelicans announced Williams' fractured right foot was showing signs of improved bone healing and that he was going to gradually progress to full weight-bearing exercises and basketball activity. So we've been discussing some of the bad news about Zion Williamson and his recovery from fracturing his 5th metatarsal. So it's only right that we bring you some of the positive news as well. So this is a good sign for him. You know, there's still no timetable as to when he'll be able to return, but to see him get some positive news on his road to recovery, seeing him rejoin his team, I think that's all positive indications for him moving forward.
Hey, you have any gut feeling that we were doing it around the league, we were giving you Zion updates, and unfortunately they weren't positive. But once we reported on the float at the Mardi Gras and a few other things, but seriously, it's like this is a miraculous recovery in 1 week. Like all of a sudden, the bone, it's showing healing, and he's back in basketball. Did you think it's a PR thing for him to start saying, oh, I better turn this stuff around because everyone's turning on me, man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that's not the case, but hey, the doctors are saying he's feeling better. It makes sense if he's getting closer to on-court activities for him to rejoin the team. I wasn't sure why he decided to rehab on his own in the first place, because we've seen players who have these extended injuries, they're still with the team. I mean, look at Derrick Rose. He just joined the team on the West Coast trip, and I don't think he'll be able to play or he'll be healthy enough to return during that trip, but he still made the flight out there. So for him to not be with the team, that was always interesting to say the least. But it is kind of curious or eyebrow raising to see the timing of it, because if remember, it went from him potentially needing a second surgery to now there's seeing some progress and he's rejoining the team. So
either that, or I think he said that he gets better weed on the West Coast, so might as well get the free jet out there. Stop off out there, just the dispensary, and pick up some of their Northern Lights and stuff.
Facts. But I mean, I'm happy for the guy if he's able to come back and be healthy. I'm sure Knicks fans are going to start clamoring for us to trade for him. Once again, before I try and say anything close to that, I got to see him back on the court healthy and see what he looks like. Because even if he returns, we don't know. He's been off the court for this amount of time. Who knows what type of player we'll see when he returns?
Yeah, shut him down for the year, man.
Yeah, at this point, unless I mean, the only way I would say, bring him back, because they did make the deal for CJ McCollum. They do have Brandon Ingram. So if they feel like they can make some noise in the playoffs, then maybe you might bring him back to see what he can give you. But other than that, I'd shut him down. Let's try it next year where we have everybody fully 100%. You get those guys to train in camp, but they can learn to play with each other and things like that and move forward from there.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to do, if the bone's feeling better and everything, let him gradually get into basketball shape. You don't want to expedite anything. You want him to lose weight the right way. You want him to get the right shape right way. And all of a sudden, don't go on, all right, let's go on this crash course to get him back on the court, because that's when you re-injure yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Here's a interesting one from Evan Best. He says, because Zion is not hurt, he's playing the Ben Simmons game. You think Ben Simmons is ducking the Philly home crowd? Because he still hasn't returned yet. I'd be interested to see if he returns after this Philly game, after this next Philly game.
It's funny, even Best, that you said that, because I was watching the game, the Nets game, and you see KD on the sideline like shaking his head that they're losing another game to the Celtics. But I'm like saying to myself, he's saying, we should have kept Harden and traded Kyrie. I don't want this guy Ben here, man. Or something like, Ben. They're going to be held hostage by him, and when he comes back and everything else, and it's the worst time of year to try to bring somebody into the fold. Literally, it's kind of crazy, folks, that tonight we're in the teens, only left in the season. So to bring a guy in with only 19 or so games left in the season, depending on the team, that's a real short time to phase in, learn the plays on both offense and defense. So, like you said, I don't think he wants the drama and all the people in the press, because you can imagine it'll be like 100 people in that locker room asking him questions. So it's a smart move for him not to, especially what we said about him dealing with the emotional issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's see what we got people saying in the chat. New York says we want him healthy for us.
Nah. I have great respect for Zion, but I like 3-level scorers. He's an animal in the paint, but he can't shoot a three for the life of him. On defense, other issues. So he's a spectacular, great player, but he was a marketing pick. A real basketball guy would have said, "Man, this guy's phenomenal," but I'm taking John Morant.
Yeah.
So, hey, we have
Mr.
100.
Latoya says, I don't have faith in Zion. He needs to lose 100 pounds.
Yeah, I don't know about 100, but he definitely needs to lose a. Even that the scary thing, Lex, and everything is framed DNA wise that he can lose everything and he'll still be. He could starve himself and he'll still be 275. It's just who he is, man. He's going to be a big, big boy. So, hey, we have 185 people in the chat. We have 98. We're only a couple away from that 100 metric. So do us a favor. Please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe. And please turn on that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content from Sports Vibes TV. Please share the link on your favorite social media platforms. And as always, shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do. Couple, just real quick. I saw my friend, Our Communities, Our Children, OCOC. Him and his buddies, they did the New York Knicks dedication anthem, Victory Kings and Queens. So do me a favor. We love supporting our fans and their passions, and he's very gifted and talented. So do me a favor, in the chat, reach out to him. And if you get a chance, please on YouTube, do a search for Our Communities, Our Children, OCOC, and check out their New York Knicks dedication anthem. Shout out.
Yeah, salute to them and their music video. Always got to share support when it comes to our Knicks content.
Absolutely. Hey, my guy from the Bronx, brother Contreras, and Adele's from the Bronx too. So we got our whole Bronx crew, man. Now we just need Julian Blum.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he got to pull up. So it says, does front office address their mistakes this offseason? Adjust this vision this offseason. Mistakes being JR, Tibbs, and that type of win now coach, Noel and Fournier. They have to at this point because we can't go forward with the same roster. We've got to figure out what to do with Julius Randle, whether that be trade him or bring in a point guard to at least get the ball out of his hands. Maybe if he doesn't feel like that number one, he's not as big of a hothead macho man out there on the court. Tibbs, hopefully we're able to fire Tibbs and move on with a better replacement. And Noel, we definitely have to move off of Noel. I would keep Fournier if we can keep him in a reduced role off the bench, maybe 20, 22 minutes. He could be a little microwave coming off the bench.
Yeah, I was going to say he'll be our Kyle Korver, or our JJ Redick. Yeah, and if he doesn't have
paid version.
Yeah, just take him out and stuff like that. But touching on that, folks, there was an article in the New York Post about Leon Rose hiding from hey, Geraldine, didn't realize you're from the Bronx too. Yo, we love you, and we love you even more now.
Yeah, you know how it goes. If it wasn't for the Bronx, this rap probably wouldn't be going on. Uptown, baby. We get
down, baby. Where are you from in the Bronx, Geraldine? But there was a post. There was an article in the New York Post that Rose and the crew, this is crazy. They have not answered questions from reporters. They answered once in 19 months. Once in 19 months. We've lost 17 out of 20 games. We're 6 games behind the last play-in spot with all the things going on. And the Post asked for an interview and they were turned down. So this is out of control, that we have a front office that we have no idea their strategy and they won't communicate. One time in 19 months is inexcusable. And James Dolan, if you're hearing, that's not good. That's not good management. Your fans are everything. You should, you have to include the fans in your strategies. Obviously you're not going to call them up, but give us an idea. If you're there 3 years now and you're hearing our show and we talk to the SV Nation and stuff, and everybody looks at each other like, I have no feel what they're going to do. I have no idea what they're going to do, whether in the draft, whether in trades, whether, Tibbs or whatever. And that's a terrible thing. How are you supposed to root for a team when you have a front office like that?
Facts. Also, Foxy action you shall receive. Julian Blum pulled up.
Yo, my guy. Yo, yep. Like I said, Northeast Bronx. Yep. Castle Hill Projects here. Like I said, and I said to people, I had a real blessed life. I grew up in the Castle Hill Projects, but my grandmother, one grandmother lived on the University Avenue in the Sedgwick Projects, and the other grandmother lived on Watson Avenue. So I was all over, and also I spent some time on Willis Avenue. So I've been all over the Bronx.
Facts. Also got some Queens love in the building. New York says Queens, and Sincere the Genius is shouting out Brooklyn. You got love for all the boroughs.
all the boroughs, including Staten Island.
Facts. So Foxy, guess what time it is?
One of my favorite times of the week. What time is it?
Foxy, it is time for the Sports Vibes TV Lounge.
Oh, I
You
thought you
already
were
know
about to
this
hit
is the
something.
portion of.
I thought a bass beat was
No,
going to come in.
I was trying to add dramatic effect. I apologize. Was my timing off? Oh,
No,
now I
I
lost
was
the
just.
screen.
Oh,
Am I
no,
still on with you?
I can see you. I can see you. So, yep. So if you want to real quick, I could talk to the chat if you want to pop back in and or whatever. I see you. You look great, and you're not.
You see me, I see you. All right, so we'll still rock out with
Yeah,
the lounge
yeah,
then until I can figure this
yeah.
out.
So, folks, this is the SV time, the SV Nation time for the takeover. We answer all your questions. It's our favorite time. You're the third host of the show. So, you want to talk Knicks, you want to talk draft, you want to talk life, you want to talk around the league, anything you want. This is our favorite time. So,
this is your time, Foxy. You're gonna have to lead the comments though, because I don't know. My Mac done kicked me out.
yeah, no worries. So, let's see. Hey, Benjamin Martinez. Yes, sir. I was on Jerome Avenue. Yo. And Johnny Davis is better than Grimes. Soul Trade. You know what? Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis is better than Grimes in the mid range. He's not better than Grimes at 3-pointer. He has a better handle than Grimes. Grimes is a better defender. I like Johnny Davis, but there's a whole lot of similarity between Quentin Grimes and Johnny Davis's game. That's why I'm a little more on the Ben Mathurin, but Johnny Davis has got a beautiful game, man. Beautiful game.
All right, I'm back, Foxy. I
Oh,
figured
cool.
out what it was. I have multiple screens, and I feel like I ended up putting it on a screen I wasn't looking at.
I thought you kicked something for a change because I was like, this is a test of the emergency broadcast system.
No. It was just one of those. I was like, where did the screen go? I knew I was still streaming. I just couldn't see where you were, and I couldn't see the chat.
I can't see where I am either.
That means you had one too many.
Never too many.
UBG says these guys are agents with no clue on how to run a team, and that's probably why they brought in that Gerson guy.
Yeah, UBG, as always, thanks so much for your support. We really appreciate it. But man, did you nail that killer take? Yep. It's a difference between being a real basketball guy and an agent. They know of basketball, they don't know basketball. And like Keith just said, they brought in the dude, that was with the Rockets organization and a few others that maybe he's a real basketball guy.
Thanks. Sam L says Mitch is great, but wouldn't it be nice to have a 5 that could dribble, pass, shoot a little bit? I agree, but I think with Mitch, if we can get another big like that to add in addition to him, as opposed to swapping him out for that 5, then I think that would be the best case of action, or course of action. Then you'd have Mitch starting, and then you'd have that guy coming off the bench.
Yeah, and just Nick's luck that Lucas Shemanek had to have a foot injury. I would have loved.
He's actually nice. He's got solid. He's a stocky young man.
So do me a favor.
As well.
Again, I was going to say our guy Keese at the bridge went up to Bridgeport to see the Westchester, and he saw Luka shooting at halftime and stuff. So give us an update visually and stuff what you saw from Luka.
Yeah, Luka's got nice form. He was able to swap a couple of them. He had one air ball, but he was in sweats and stuff, so I kind of gave him a pass. But I wasn't sure what the injury was, because they say he has an injury with his foot, but he looked fine to me. He was doing a little bit of posting up with another trainer during halftime. And if you look at the size of him, he's a very tall individual.
6'10",
6'11", maybe even a little bit more. They might be underselling him, because I was able to get to like the ground area, which is a little bit elevated, and I felt like he still had a couple inches on me. And I'm like, wow, this is a tall man. He can play center. He could play a stretch 5 if we needed him to.
Exactly. So it was like, man,
just can't get on the court for some reason due to the foot injury, and that's
and Tibbs and this organization. So yeah.
Because Tibbs isn't going to play him.
Yeah, but he's a first round pick, and like we said, he has very similar to Cam. He has a lot of tools. He could put the ball on the floor. He could shoot from 3. He could, if you get too close, he'll put the ball on the floor and dunk on you. Good foul shooter. So it's crazy, man.
He's another Swiss Army knife, I think, that we have down in the G League. I could definitely contribute.
For sure.
Our communities, our children says good organizations win games, excellent organizations win championships. Bad organizations don't win at all. I threw a little bit on at the end. I apologize for not quoting you directly.
Yeah, yeah, but that's poetry, man. Yeah,
Facts.
that's captured the
Bad
realities.
organizations do what we see. No, bad organizations have teams that are as inept as us in the fourth quarter, especially when we have lead. That's the truest sign of a terrible team. Let's
Yeah.
see. Joseph John says, salute in a vacuum. Trade assets for Ivy or trade assets for Brunson. Well, I would say I don't like to trade and then also give somebody a big contract. So just by that, I might kind of lead toward trading for Ivy.
Yeah. Well, I also think that the assets for Ivy are going to be a lot higher than for Brunson. So for us to go up for Ivy, but Joseph, first of all, good to see you. Hope all is well. We appreciate your generosity and stuff like that. But I don't know if you've been watching a lot of Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey has athleticism like Ja, and he has a hairdo like Ja, but he's not Ja. A lot of people are confusing that he's Ja Morant. He's not Ja Morant. He doesn't have a mid-range game like Ja Morant. He's not Ja Morant. He just looks a lot like Ja Morant. So I think he's going to be special, but it's going to take, from a point guard position, there's issues. You keep watching Jaden. He's very, very talented, but I don't know if he's going to be the answer. And if he is the answer, it's going to be 3 years from now.
Says, if we go after Spider, do you think we'll have to give up too much? Yes, way too much.
Shit, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And probably starting with RJ.
And that's the follow-up question. Would you guys trade RJ for Mitchell? No, I would try to keep RJ and add Mitchell to the mix.
Yeah.
See what else
Hi, Bagger.
going on. It says from our communities, our children, it says, who will get extended this offseason? I see RJ getting extended, and I would hope Mitchell Robinson can get extended. But honestly, I'm on the fence with that one. I would extend him if I was given the opportunity. But when it comes to what his agent demands and what the Knicks are willing to give, I'm not sure if he will actually get the extension.
Yeah, I know. I just hope he's realistic and he's getting better advice. We've talked about him having 6 agents. I hope nobody's talking in his ear and saying you should be getting 25 million, son. He shouldn't be getting 20 million. Jared Allen gets 20 million, and Mitch Robinson is not Jared Allen. So hopefully he has some reality. You see Atmosphere Audio? Just want to.
What minute mark?
9:42.
I told you a while back that the Noel contract was a terrible move. I believe we're on the same page.
Yes, thanks. Appreciate your support so much. Yep, you're 100% right. And he's an elite shot blocker and an elite injury-prone person. So his whole career, he's been elite at being injured. So, and this year, like I said, for all of us Knicks fans, it's like one thing is that you're getting injured in battle. That you're like somebody stepped on his toe or somebody, but this guy's gotten non-contact. He gets injured on the exercise bike. It's like crazy.
Yeah, I think I gave that like a C- or something when we were reviewing the signings because they gave him almost starting center money.
I know.
I'm like, why are we giving Nerlens Noel starting center money? He's always injury prone and he's never been able to warrant that type of a paycheck from any other organization. So why are we going ahead and doing that? I mean, yeah, you have him as insurance for Mitchell Robinson because he was still coming back from his foot injury. But I don't think at any point in Nerlens Noel's career has he shown that he can be a legitimate everyday center. I say every day like this is baseball.
No, but we knew what you're saying, but all of us have the nightmare of what happened with Capella in against Atlanta in the playoffs last year with Mitch out and Noel getting just abused, and all of us had that, and then they signed that contract, and with all of us having that image of him not doing it when it counted. And saying, you could have maybe got a little less money for Kelly Olynyk or somebody that would bring a different flavor as a stretch 5, give better spacing and stuff like that, with Mitch being our number 1 center and having a stretch 5 come off the bench that maybe add a different flavor to the team.
Max. Israel Moya says it's
Moye.
not that Mitch can't. It's he's not allowed. I don't think Mitch can kind of stretch the court because weren't we talking to JD from JD Sports Talking Knicks Fan TV? He said that they were recording him putting shots up before pregame and he was bricking left and right.
Yeah.
So I think Mitch still has to continue to work on that area of his game before the Knicks coaching staff allows him to go out there and do it. And
Just
I
look at his
think a
foul
lot of
shooting.
what Yep, exactly. I think a lot of what he's doing now is just posturing because he knows he's about to hit the free agent market and he wants to say, hey, when I go meet with other teams, the reason I'm not doing these things is because they wouldn't let me, not that it's not a part of my game. So that's another thing we've got to keep an eye out on. You can't necessarily listen to everything Mitch is saying when it comes to him complaining and not about being able to put up shots when before the games, he's not showing that he has the ability to knock them down consistently.
Yeah. Earlier, I saw my friend Jay Boogie. So, Jay Boogie, just shout out if you're there. Hope all is well. Always a shout out to our guy, Justin L., Kentucky's finest. I don't know if he's in tonight, but he's always here with us in spirit. So, if you're watching it on the replay, just let you know that you're loved. 19 Con Man NYC. Yep, aka Mittens, aka Palm Springs. You're cool. Yeah. And like I said, he's the most bizarre dude. He has good hands on defense. And with this terrible team, statistically, he's leading the team, Noel, with his in steals, as crazy as it sounds. He has good hands on defense and some the worst hands I've ever seen on offense. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Question from
Julian Blum says,
yep.
Go ahead.
No, please.
I was just gonna say Julian Blum says Tibbs is a virus to this team.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he followed that up right after this was said. Tibbs is a sabotager.
Yeah.
He's a saboteur.
Yeah. We have a saboteur in our midst. So, Jay Boogie, there he is. So,
Jay Boogie's in chat?
Yeah, at 9:48. Hi, Jay. Hope everything.
He says, if I can't get Ivy, then Shaden Sharp is the killer for me. Then trade back in and get Bryce McGowan, 6'7" point guard from Nebraska, and he's 40% from the field. Salute, salute, salute. 3 capital S's.
Well, you know your boy Jay Boogie. That a couple of things. Shaden Sharp has all the measurables, but we only have high school mixtape of him. You know, it always concerns me when I can't see somebody play against other competition. So if Ivy's taken, if Johnny Davis is taken and Ben Matherin's taken, I would absolutely take a swing on Shaden Sharp. But it's real hard when you don't see a guy play against other guys in college and take him just because he can dunk and he has all the deliverables. So, all the measurables, but yeah. And as for Bryce McGowan, unfortunately he didn't play today against Wisconsin and Johnny Davis. His brother had a brutal foul and got kicked out of the game. But he's not a point guard. He's a shooting guard and he shoots, I think if my memory serves me right, 28% from 3. So, he has beautiful size. I would actually guide Bryce McGowan to go back another year. I think right now he's going to probably be in the range of 17, 18 or something like that. I think if he goes back for another year, Jay, that maybe he'll be in the mix for a lottery pick. But he has beautiful size. And when you look at him, he absolutely looks like a Halliburton or he looks like a DeJounte Murray. He has that skinny physique. So, but as always, man, I love your feedback and absolutely salute 3 capital S's.
Max, salute to Jay Boogie. Appreciate you tuning in.
And also, folks, if you haven't heard his latest track, Obi,
Obi.
I know it's contagious, man. You're so talented. So I've been playing that. So folks, please check out Jay Boogie. The track Obi, man, is fantastic. And it was in a tribute for him winning the slam dunk contest.
Facts. Happy for him. It's been a tough season, but at least he's got that trophy to go home with as a momentum.
Hey, I see my friend Dripmore. Hope all is well with you and your family.
Who's worse, Tibbs coaching this year or front office allowing it?
D, all the above.
Yeah, that's a good question, though. Who's worse? Who would I say is worse?
I think you answered it. Because I was going to say, I'm going to use your answer. He's been the enabler. Mm-hmm, I love that exactly. that you called him that you have so many great things, and that's one of your best ones this year. He's the enabler for the bad behavior, the favoritism, what he did with Kemba, what he did with just taking him out and losing the locker room early in the season, and then showing favoritism to Julius and not putting a line in the sand with his behavior and saying, I'm going to bench you every time you do that stuff, to running the players into the ground, RJ and others, garbage time. So, the front offices do some things, but Tibbs has the ability on the court to do things, whether rotations and stuff. So Tibbs is number one in my book, Adele, as being the biggest culprit and public enemy number one.
Facts. With me, I would say I would agree with you. It got to be Tibbs because he's putting our players one in dangerous positions like RJ, playing him put out there in garbage minute. He hurt his ankle. Now he's back. He's still playing 40 some odd minutes per game. I don't like that. You also see him not really reprimanding Julius Randle or treating Randle the same way he would treat a Quentin Grimes. Not to say that they have to be treated the exact same way, but you got to treat each of them fairly. So if Grimes is out there making a mistake and you're barking at Grimes, or even Deuce is making a mistake, you should at least show some accountability to Julius Randle when he's doing far more egregious things out there on the court. We've seen Deuce have some, misses out there on defense where he's not in the right spot. And at times, Tibbs has gotten mad at him, but at least Deuce is out there giving effort. We've seen Julius Randle give little to no effort, and not a word is said to him as he's walking back to the bench. So that's another thing with Tibbs that I think is just more egregious than the front office and the contract that they signed. Because at the end of the day, you look at some of these contracts, I think we may be able to get rid of them next season when they become
Expiring
contracts.
Yeah, they'll
But
be
you
attractive.
got Tibbs. Yeah, you got Tibbs playing our young guys out of position, which is taking away from them and their ability to develop and grow as young players in this league. And then you also have him putting them in compromised positions. So that's why I would say Tibbs coaching is worse this year than the front office and the moves they made in the offseason.
Well said.
I think somebody else had a question. Here we go. Trevor says, I got a big question for both of y'all. If we don't have Julius Randle on this team, who do we get the number one options to help the Knicks in the offseason?
Well, if we talked about earlier, my friend, that if we get a Brunson to stabilize this team, then he would kick the ball. The offense would go through RJ, and one of the things that, again, shout out to Keys, he did a wonderful video on RJ, but it's more than his offense; it's his vision. He's a good decision maker. He sees the floor, and I think it'll get better. And if they've been doing this for a lot longer, he'd be even better at it. So I see RJ there, and again, what we get in the draft. So also Cam. I think that Cam has special talents, man. So if you have Cam and RJ and a Brunson, and then you have a couple other guys, Fournier would, like we said, is our Kyle Korver. You come in, if he's cool, good. If he's not, get him out. If we need something like that. But you have Grimes, that's going to bring a fantastic defense, elite 3-point shooting. You have Deuce, that's going to bring elite defense, and then let's see his offensive game come around. We have a lot of things, man, that I think for the future. But get Randle out of here on the first plane, please.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Foxy. I would have not Julius. I have RJ Barrett still operate as the guy that's initiating the offense, and the offense flows through him. I would then have Cam try to elevate him to the starting lineup and see if he can be a nice 1B or develop into that 1B to RJ, or maybe even as vice versa with Cam, with the additional workload shows that he can be a 1A and RJ is a 1B. Either way, I don't mind. I take both of those situations. Now, in terms of that, I would allow that to be the way we flow or the way we play next season, as opposed to try and make a big grand move to bring somebody else to be the de facto number one. I feel like we're not in a position where we're going to go and immediately compete for a championship. So I'm not too focused on trying to go and get that number one right now. I'm trying to continue building up the guys that we have on our roster. So maybe one day when that number one does become available, we have some tantalizing players on our roster that we can include in a trade, because we already have the draft picks. Now we just have to send our players out there, let them show that they are assets potentially for another team, and then we can make a move.
Yeah, collectively, the SV Nation, all we pray for with RJ is consistency. If that kid could be consistent, if you look at what he did on the last month, folks, he's a number one option. There's not too many players in the league from a scoring standpoint, points per game, and everything that he's accomplished. That's a number one option numbers. So now, if he can get the consistency part in year 4 next year, wow. And then have a point guard that gets the ball in his spots or that's willing, do that. And, I was watching the game the other day and I said, it's crazy. It's either the best screens on this team are either the ancient Taj or this kid Sims. He sets beautiful screens. I watched him and RJ doing where he set like 2, 3 that I was like, wow, his IQs. He impressed me with his IQ. He came out, RJ, and he moved and he set a screen, and then RJ took another turn, so he realized that he had to make another screen. So, with the right guys and everything, I absolutely see RJ being our one, and then we can draft somebody, and like Keith said, you add that top player when you're 1 player away from a championship. We're not 1 player away from a championship. We're 3 players away from a championship.
And it's pretty interesting, too, because before that Phoenix Suns game, we were on the pregame with George, and George asked a great question as to, what is RJ Barrett's ceiling? And I said, we'll finally know what RJ Barrett's ceiling would be, or he'll be a 1 once he's consistent and once he can knock down his free throws. And in the Suns game, he was extremely inefficient and, the kind of throws off the consistency we were looking for. And he missed a key free throw late in that game that allowed Cam Johnson to knock down the 3. So there's still some growth there for RJ Barrett. He has to continue to get better. But I think for the most part, I like the way he's trending. He's trending in the right direction. We just need to see him be a little bit more consistent game to game. I think he still, what did he have for that game? He still had 20, no?
He had 20. He absolutely had 20. He had 20 on 6 for 26.
On the
so
dot,
he was highly inefficient, but he was 7 for 10 from the foul line.
1 of 7 from 3, and he got you 5 rebounds and 5 assists. So that's closer to what we would, I guess, like from RJ on a bad game. At least he got you 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists on a bad game.
But we said in the pregame, and again, we call this, when you go against Mikal Bridges, you're going to have a game like that. He is literally elite. His wingspan is so unbelievably, his 7-foot plus wingspan and everything. And we could have had Mikal Bridges. Oh God, we could have had him. Mm-hmm. But he literally, they put him on Trey Lash. He is becoming like one of the premier defenders in this league, Mikal Bridges. So him having an off night just meant it was a normal night when you go up against Mikal Bridges.
Thanks. Nick Yak asked a question. He says McBride gets 5 minutes tonight. maybe so. He gets the same 8.
Maybe he gets the same 8, but Nick Yak, it'll be in the off guard position again. Like I said, and we saw him have this wonderful in the G League, lobs to Sims and stuff like that. Give McBride a chance at the freaking point guard position, please.
Man, facts. All right, Foxy, we'll wrap it up here. I think we had a solid show. Like you said, it was jam-packed. We didn't even get to the Lakers topic. Another team struggling, and they could potentially be benching Brickbrook, take him out of the starting lineup. That'll be shocking. Paying somebody $50 million to come off the bench.
Yeah, and that's the fight. The coach wants to bench him and the front office doesn't, but shout out to LeBron. What was it, 56 last night?
Actually, I think it's vice versa. The players want to bench him, and Vogel is kind of reluctant based on the reports. That's crazy. Bron is saying, bench this guy, man. And Vogel's saying, calm down. Because you saw what the last time he went on the bench, right? He started complaining, saying that, sitting on the bench hurt my back.
I was about to say, I'm stiff. It's hard for me to get loose and stuff like that. And it hurt me the game after. You're not playing me enough. So, yeah. But I said the best things this season has just been LeBron's look at disdain. Like, I'm the man and you're looking me off. I look you off. You don't look me off. I'm the king.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So anybody you want to shout out before we wrap up, Foxy?
No, just as always, we know it's been a really tough year. it's difficult as podcasters. We mentioned that, we don't want to be negative Nellies and say every week, Randle sucks, Tibbs sucks, front office sucks, but we got to keep it real. But what doesn't suck? You guys, we love you. So, and again, on the replay gang, we call it, we appreciate all your comments and we answer all your comments. So check it out. But some of the good things, like we said, is draft season's coming up. So, between Keese and your boy Foxy, that we're going to be on top of our game. So as the season dwindles, that we're going to be going full blast into that. So we're going to have a lot of good entertainment for you, a lot of great shows. And as we always say, where's the place to be? Sports Vibes TV.
TV.
Sundays at 8:00.
I got to run down on one of the Knicks and see if they can get that for a drop.
Yo, exactly. So again, just shout out to everyone. We appreciate all your support. You're wonderful.
Yep. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. We've got 160 people still checking in with us, and we've been streaming for an hour and 54 minutes. So we thank you guys for that commitment to supporting the channel and supporting Foxy and I as we do our show. So thank you once again. We'll be back again next Sunday at 8 p.m. as always to talk more Knicks. Hopefully the New York Knicks will give us something a little bit better to actually discuss. But they'll still be continuing their West Coast trip, and we'll see if we can actually get some wins. I know some people want us to kind of lose and start tanking, but I mean, I'm watching the game and I got to get a win, man. I was so pissed when we lost to the Suns. Yeah, we might have done better for our draft position, but in the moment, man, I was heated, screaming, cussing, hooping, and hollering. I couldn't believe they allowed that to happen. And I really wanted to see us win without having, Julius Randle in those closing minutes, because then it could have gave us a nice outlook moving forward to say, all right, we had the 2 games when Randle was dealing with the Rona and we looked terrible. Now let's at least have a nice closeout to this game without Randle. So that's something we can build on in the event that he's no longer with us. But
I was smiling because there was nice ball movement the minute Randle wasn't there. The ball was moving better. It's like, get this guy out of here, man. So
I hear you on that one, but we'll wrap it up there. Once again, everybody, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm your host, Keese. That's our NBA analyst, Stephen Fox, and this is the Knicks Sunday stream here on Sports Vibes TV. And
love you.